Writers, readers, I am freelance fiction editor Miranda Darrow, here with my weekly video about writing, editing, and the writing life. It's a new month, and we are talking about an old genre. It's Westerns. They've always been popular with some readers, like my grandpa Leonard, who read every Louis L'Amour book that I think was ever written, but their popularity as novels has waxed and waned. Just so you know, my grandpa Leonard had a fifth grade education because he had to drop out of school to go to work when his dad died, but he still had a book that he was reading every time I visited, and Westerns were his favorite genre, so it's always a nostalgic one for me. With the resurgence of TV series, Westerns like Yellowstone, Longmire, Joe Pickett, Dark Winds, and The Outer Range, I think this genre may be on the uptick once again. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to find a whole list of book recs to make an entire video, but I looked through my database and I added a few that were listed under historical, one that was romance, though there are quite a few that would fall in that category, and some that are more expansive interpretations, like how Firefly was a series that was a Western that was in space. So buckle up, cowboys and cowgirls. We're taking a mosey through my Western list of book recommendations. First up is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey. Let's start with one of my favorites. This is definitely not my grandpa Leonard's Western. Esther is a stowaway. She's hidden herself away in a librarian's book wagon in an attempt to escape a marriage that her father has arranged for her, a marriage to the man who was previously engaged to her best friend, the best friend that she was in love with, and her best friend who was just executed for possession of resistance propaganda. The future American Southwest is full of bandits, fascists, queer librarian spies on horseback trying to do the right thing. They'll bring the fight to you. Next up, Bullet Swallower by Elizabeth Gonzales James. This is a dazzling magical realism Western in the vein of Cormac McCarthy meets Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The Bullet Swallower follows a Mexican bandito as he sets off for Texas to save his family, only to encounter a mysterious figure who has come to collect a cosmic debt, generations in the making. Next up, The 12 Lives of Samuel Hawley by Hannah Tinty. I picked this one even though most would not list this as a Western, but the title character Samuel Hawley is spreading 12 gunshot wounds, each that tells a story. That's a Western trope. The man shot full of lead, who may or may not still stay alive, but is definitely kicking ass. The plot of this book, which I loved, follows Hawley, who has spent years living on the run. He moves with his teenage daughter Lou to Olympus, Massachusetts, not your typical Western setting. There, in his late wife's hometown, Hawley finds work as a fisherman, while Lou struggles to fit in at school and grows curious about her mother's mysterious death. Haunting them both are the 12 scars that Hawley carries on his body from 12 bullets in his criminal past, a past that eventually spills over into his daughter's present, until together they must face a reckoning yet to come. This father-daughter epic weaves back and forth through time and across America from Alaska to the Adirondacks. I really like that one. Next up, Under an Outlaw Moon by Dietrich Kaltis. This one falls under true crime, as it's based on a real couple, Depression Bank era robbers Benny and Stella Mae Dixon. She's a teenage outsider longing to fit in. He's a few years older, and he's trouble. They meet at a local skating rink, and the sparks fly. They marry, and Stella dreams of a nice house with a swing out back, while Benny tries to figure out how to make enough money to make that happen. Setting his sights on the good life, he decides to rob a bank, and he talks Stella into it too by laying out his plan, and he teaches her how to shoot. The newlyweds celebrate her 16th birthday robbing a local bank. What could go wrong? The next one I've added to the list is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I love this author, and this is a women's fiction set during the Dust Bowl, and it starts in Texas in 1934, where farmers can't grow anything, and a young mother is forced to travel with her young children to try to survive, with no land, no man, and no community, until she makes a community. All right, next up is Girl Waits with Gun by Amy Stewart. I love this one and its sequels. The novel is based on a forgotten true story of one of the nation's first female deputy sheriffs. Constance Cobb does not fit into the mold. She towers over most men. She has no interest in marriage or domestic affairs, and she's been isolated from the world since a family secret sent her and her sisters into hiding 15 years ago. One day, a belligerent and powerful silk factory owner runs down their buggy, and a dispute over the damages turns into a war of bricks and bullets and threats as he unleashes his gang on their family farm. When the sheriff enlists her help in convicting the men, Constance is forced to confront her past and defend her family, and she does it in a way that very few women in 1914 would have dared to. Next up, Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. It's another that's listed as crime drama rather than as Western, but it's definitely hits on Western themes about taking justice into your own hands. It's February 1976 in Odessa, Texas, which is standing on the cusp of the next great oil boom. While the town's men embrace the coming prosperity, its women intimately know and fear the violence that always seems to follow. In the early hours of Valentine's Day morning, 14-year-old Gloria Ramirez appears on the front porch of Mary Rose Whitehead's ranch house, broken and barely alive. The teenager had been viciously attacked in a nearby oil field. The act of brutality is tried in the churches and bar rooms of Odessa before it can reach a court of law. When justice is evasive, the stage is set for a showdown with potentially devastating consequences. Can you practically hear the spaghetti western soundtrack music while I'm describing this? I sure can. Next up is This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. I live in Minnesota, and I read a lot of Minnesota-based books. And Minnesota hasn't been considered the frontier for a long time, but this historical has a Western feel. It's set in the summer of 1932 on the banks of Minnesota's Gilhead River, where the Lincoln Indian Training School is a pitiless place where Native American children were forcibly separated from their parents. They are sent there to be educated. It is also the home to Odie Banyan, a lively orphan boy whose exploits constantly earn him the superintendent's wrath. Odie and his brother Albert are among the only white faces among hundreds of Native American children at the school. After committing a terrible crime, Odie and Albert are forced to flee for their lives. They take with them their best friend, Mose, a mute young man of Sioux heritage. Out of pity, they also take with them a broken-hearted little girl named Emmy. Together, the four of them steal a canoe and head for the mighty Mississippi in search for a place to call home. I couldn't make a modern list of Westerns without including a romance, so I'm going to include Rebel by Beverly Jenkins. There's many more Western romances by Ms. Bev. She's a powerhouse in writing historical romance, and many of them feature Black heroes and heroines in the American West, and Rebel is one that I loved. Next up in my list of recommendations is The Good Luck Girls by Charlotte Nicole Davis. I had to dig deep into my Goodreads databank to find this one, as it didn't show up in any of the lists of popular Westerns that I was looking at to jog my memory, but I was definitely picturing the story when I picked Westerns as my focus for the genre of the month. The county of Arquetta calls them Good Luck Girls, but they know their luck is anything but good. Sold to a welcome house as children and branded with cursed markings, they were trapped in a life they would never have chosen. When Clementine accidentally murders a man, the girls risk a dangerous escape and a harrowing journey to find freedom, justice, and revenge in a country that wants them to have none of those things. Pursued by Arquetta's most vicious and powerful forces, both human and inhuman, their only hope lies in a bedtime story passed from one good luck girl to another, a story that only the youngest or most desperate would ever believe. When I tracked down this book, I saw that it had a sequel that I just added to my to-be-read list. Next up is The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek by Kim Michelle Richardson. This story is a fictionalized account of the real subjects of the history of Eastern Kentucky. Cussie Mary is a bookwoman, one of the packhorse librarians who delivers books to remote areas of the Appalachian Mountains during the Great Depression from 1935 to 1943 as part of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Works Progress Administration WPA program. Next up, The Hunger by Elma Katsu. Ooh, I remember this one. It reminded me of the Hard Luck Wagon Train featured on the Paramount series 1883 with Tim McGraw trying to get his family west. The Hunger is a supernatural reimagining of the ill-fated Donner Party expedition. It's bad enough to be trapped and starving, but what if something else is out there too? While we're on the topic of horror, I'm also including another horror title that isn't strictly a Western, but it definitely shares Western themes, The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle. It's a retelling of H.P. Lovecraft's The Horror at Red Hook, blending cosmic horror with 1920s Harlem. Let's include The Night Watchman by Louise Erdrich. It's based on the author's grandfather. This novel depicts a Native American community's struggle against displacement in the 1950s in North Dakota. I'm also going to include La Rose by the same author, Louise Erdrich. I'm always plugging for this author because she's from the same part of central Minnesota where I am, and she's amazing. While we're on the topic of Native American authors, I'd be remiss to not mention Stephen Graham Jones. I'm not a huge horror fan, but I've read several of his, including The Only Good Indians. This is a horror novel blending Native American traditions with contemporary life set in the rural West. And finally, the one I'm reading right now, Outlawed by Anna North. It starts with the story of a young woman trying to conceive to avoid problems in a marriage that she didn't necessarily want, with a background of women in town being hung, accused of witchcraft because of a spate of miscarriages for people who had talked to her. It's a feminist reimagining of the Western genre following a fugitive gang of women on the run in the 1890s. Go, gals! And there we go, a list of Westerns and Western-themed books that would have shocked my Grandpa Leonard, who didn't actually live long enough to have seen the miniseries Lonesome Dove on TV in 1989, but I remember watching that and thinking of him and how he would have liked it, and how I was also crushing on a cute, very young Ricky Schroeder at the time. Wow, that was a while back. But I do think that Westerns are not just a genre of the past. Check out last week's video if you want tips and tricks for writing a Western, and be sure to tune into this YouTube channel next week when we'll dive into a writing craft topic and how to correctly style and add punctuation to your dialogue so your prose looks more polished. Your critique partners and your editor will thank you for it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. I post new content every week on writing and editing and the writing life. This is Miranda Darrow wishing you happy writing.